Hi, I'm DeeDee Wilson. I'm currently the Executive Vice President for Finance and Administration and the CFO for InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, a large campus ministry here in the United States. Before joining there, I had spent most of my career in senior finance positions for large consumer products companies, most recently Nike and LL Bean and a few others. So had a great corporate career and then decided when I turned 50 that it was time to do something a little different. So I noticed in the group of people that I worked with, a lot of the senior women that I worked with at InterVarsity, many of the ones who seemed most balanced, most in control of their work and their lives, they had a women's group of some sort. And I realized that I had actually been in Arete when I was working in the corporate world, and I had left Arete because I felt like I was too busy. And as I started to see how these women were responding to their pressures at work through their women's accountability groups, I realized I needed women in my life. And then I thought, wait, you had this amazing group of women in your life that you walked away from. And so I came back, and I cannot be more happy. It is really helping. Most of our levels where we are senior executives, we have the ability to manage our time. And often it's our own doing that causes us to be too busy. And so when I came back to Arete, I made the decision it would be a priority for me, that I needed it to be a priority for me so that it would actually help me with all the other places that I needed to balance. And so I block out that time. I live a good hour away from where we typically meet. And so I block out that time, and I find that the driving time gives me some super quiet space. I listen to podcasts. I sometimes just listen to good music, and I take some time away from the craziness of work. It sets me up to be in the Arete meetings well. And then I can manage my time away. And so our retreat is one of those things I prioritize as one of the highest exciting things I think I do all year long. It is something I look forward to from the time we end this year to the time that we start next year. The community is a really diverse group of executive women, some who are like me in ministry positions, but many who are either entrepreneurs or business leaders. They're in the public sector. And so we all come at our lives and our work in very different ways. And so we bring very different perspectives. We're all gifted in different ways. We all have different challenges at different times, but we've all been through most of what each other has been through at some point or another. And so it's a wonderful place to find peer coaching. It's a wonderful place to feel safe. Leadership can be super lonely. And so it's a wonderful place to be able to be genuinely authentic about the struggles that I'm having, to have people speak into my life with honesty, because I know they love me and I love them. They can speak truth to me sometimes when I need to hear it. And I think the other thing for me as a woman in a ministry position who has a lot of business requirements in my job, it gives me the chance to talk about business issues with people who are currently in those issues. So I don't get stale in the ministry work that I do. The first time I was part of Arete, a group of us decided to go to Costa Rica and it was a very unique mission trip. So we met with a woman who was doing some entrepreneurial work as mission in the town of Costa Rica, but she didn't really know. She was a missionary and she didn't really have a lot of business skills. So we brought strategic planning, we brought financial management, we brought people management skills, and we just spent a week coaching her. It would have been a great executive consulting engagement. And in doing that, we just watched her eyes wide open. We were able to see each other's strengths. And I think sometimes we're too busy or we're too focused on our work to be able to do something meaningful. But that 1 week together brought us all closer. But it also helped Julie, the woman who was leading this business be able to accomplish more than she ever could have with just a small amount of commitment from us. And so I think that reminds me that making those commitments into the lives of others, when we do it as a group, we just benefit so much. Yeah. Another thing I will say is the woman who runs Arete or who coordinates it for us is also an executive coach, and she's been coaching me through a really tough time over these last couple of months. And she's so good at pinpointing exactly what the thing is that I need to focus on. And I had a whole plan of 20 things I wanted to work on just to get myself back into alignment. And she's like, no, pick 2. And she had me pick those 2, and she let me have a lot of freedom in that. But just by being so focused on those 2 things, I saw a significant change in a very short time. So we get the benefit of Diane as executive coach if we choose that as an extra part of Arete. I had been a part of Arete for about 3 years, had gotten very close with the women, both in the Atlanta and the Orlando chapter. We had gone on this mission trip together. And I really just loved this group of women. And when I moved into a new role, I was traveling every other week. And I felt like I just didn't have the time. I realized I was missing a lot of the times that they were meeting. And when I was home, I was super tired. And so I didn't have the energy to actually make it. So I remember calling Diane to tell her that I needed to step away. And I just sobbed because I felt like I was leaving like my best girlfriends. But I didn't see how I could be committed to the group the way they needed me to be. To be honest, I think that was maybe one of the worst decisions I made, because what happened is I then allowed other things to take priority in my life. And so I wasn't meeting with a group of women who could help me see where those priorities needed to be. And things got just worse, actually, over that time period. So I really needed Arete, but I didn't have Arete. So when I came back, it just immediately felt like a gift. I don't think there's an or in there. Arete has impacted everything about me holistically. So I think when you go to a lot of women's groups or women's leadership groups, they focus very much on your work or at church or through ministry. There's lots of organizations that might focus on my spiritual life. But Arete allows me to see all of those things in an integrated way. So we're thinking about how do we present ourselves in the workplace? How are we being healthy at home? How are we being healthy with our families? How are we taking time for self-care? And then how are we making sure that we are hearing from God in the ways He wants us to lead? And so to see all of that holistically and to be able to talk about those things with other women who want to have that holistic and integrated life, I've just not seen anything else like that anywhere else.